Ladies and gentlemen, the difference between where you are and where you want to be isn't your talent, your education, or your background. It's in your mindset. And not just any mindset, a growth mindset focused on abundance. See, many people are praying for opportunities while thinking in limitations. They're saying, I want success, while constantly expecting failure. But understand this, your outer world will always align with your inner world. You don't attract what you desire. You attract what you are. A growth mindset means you believe you were created to grow, to expand, and to multiply. It means you see failure not as a dead end, but as a divine detour. It means you take ownership of your choices because you realize that everything in your life, your income, your influence, your impact, is a direct reflection of your thinking. Now, let me break it down. You were not designed for average. You were designed for increase. But increase only shows up for those who believe it's available to them. That's why I always say, you don't need to change your situation. You need to change your philosophy. Your mindset is the master key to your future. Change it and you change everything. Everything you desire, everything you dream of, everything you were created for is on the other side of a decision to think differently. See, most people are locked out of their future not because the door is closed, but because they don't believe they have the key. They keep trying to force open the doors of opportunity with talent, with hustle, with connections, but the door doesn't open any of that until the mindset matches the magnitude of the mission. When you adopt a growth mindset, you begin to understand that your potential is not fixed, that your future is not determined by your past, and that your success is not capped by your current situation. The growth mindset says, I can improve. I can get better. I can rise. It doesn't pretend failure doesn't exist. It simply refuses to let failure have the final word. When you believe that you can grow, failure becomes fertilizer. Setbacks become setups. Loss becomes a lesson. And lessons, when learned, produce leverage. You no longer see problems as barriers, but as bridges. You no longer see a closed door as rejection, but as redirection. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, keeps people trapped in cycles of mediocrity. It tells you that you're either good or you're not, that you're either smart or you're not, that you're either gifted or you're not. And because people believe they were dealt a certain hand in life, they fold early, even when the game is still being played. They say things like, that's just how I am, or I've always been this way. And what they don't realize is those words are not just statements. They are sentences. Sentences that lock them into a reality that was never meant to contain them. When you change your mindset, you stop being the prisoner and you become the architect. You begin to see that your thoughts are tools, not traps. Every day becomes a chance to build something better. You wake up and you ask yourself not, what do I have to do? But who am I becoming? Because when you focus on who you are becoming, the doing takes care of itself. Too many people are trying to change their actions while ignoring their thinking. That's like trying to change the fruit without touching the root. And that's why nothing changes long term. You can get temporary results with effort, but you get permanent results with a shift in belief. Changing your mindset doesn't mean you suddenly feel confident all the time. It means you act in alignment with what you want even when your feelings disagree. It means you speak life even when your bank account is on life support. It means you believe you're being prepared, not punished. You don't measure your progress by your problems. You measure your progress by your persistence. You stay in the game even when the scoreboard doesn't favor you because your mindset tells you it's not over until you win. When you embrace the growth mindset, you no longer compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You understand that your path is unique and comparison is a thief, not a teacher. You stop resenting other people's success and start learning from it. You don't say, they're lucky. You say, what can I learn? You don't say, they had connections. You say, let me develop competence. You begin to take full responsibility for your results, not from a place of guilt, but from a place of power. Because if it's my fault, I can't fix it, but if it's my responsibility, I can change it. Most people are looking for breakthroughs without building belief. They want elevation without excavation. But true growth starts with digging deep into your patterns of thought and saying, This is no longer serving me. It takes courage to confront the lies you've believed for years. Lies like, I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. People like me don't win. Those aren't just thoughts, those are chains. And the only way to break them is to renew your mind daily. Fill it with truth, with vision, with purpose. Feed your mind with content that stretches you. Surround yourself with voices that call you higher. Because your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant will grow. If you plant doubt, doubt will grow. If you plant faith, faith will grow. If you plant limitation, you'll harvest smallness. But if you plant possibility, abundance is inevitable. So many people sabotage their future with small thinking. They think small, dream small, plan small, and then wonder why their life feels small. But your life is simply a mirror of your mindset. If you want more in your life, you must believe for more in your mind. You must upgrade you think about money, relationships, work, and most of all about yourself, because you will never rise above the opinion you have of yourself. If you see yourself as average, you'll settle for average. If you see yourself as unworthy, you'll sabotage blessings. But if you see yourself as a vessel of purpose, as a carrier of divine potential, then you'll start walking like it, talking like it, and living like it. Changing your mindset doesn't happen once. It happens daily. It's a decision, not a destination. You choose growth every day. You choose abundance every day. Use truth every day. Even when you don't feel it, even when your circumstances seem to say otherwise. Because when you change your mindset, you change your energy. When you change your energy, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, your results have no choice but to change. So the question is not whether you can have more. The question is whether you're ready to think like it, believe like it, and act like it. Because the master key to your future isn't out there. It's already in your hands. It's in your mindset. And once you turn that key, the door will open. Obedience to truth attracts abundance, natural and supernatural. Most people don't understand this because they've been trained to chase results instead of aligning with principles. But results are temporary and principles are eternal. When you align your life with truth, you don't have to chase blessings. Blessings begin to chase you. Because abundance isn't earned through effort alone, it's attracted through obedience. And obedience isn't just about rules, it's about alignment. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are in agreement with truth, you become a magnet for overflow. Truth is not a suggestion, it's a law. And just like gravity, it works whether you believe in it or not. The law of truth says that whatever you sow, you will reap. If you sow obedience, you reap favor. If you sow discipline, you reap promotion. If you sow generosity, you reap abundance. But if you sow fear, you reap limitation. If you sow laziness, you reap lack. Too many people are praying for harvests they haven't planted for. They want increase without investment, reward without responsibility, harvest without obedience. But that's not how divine law works. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you're positioned for. And positioning comes through obedience. Obedience doesn't mean perfection. It means submission. It means choosing to do what is right even when it's not convenient. It means making decisions that align with your highest values, not just your current emotions. It means managing your money with wisdom, speaking with integrity, showing up on time, and finishing what you start. It means staying faithful to your word, even when nobody's watching, because the truth always tests you before it blesses you. And when you pass the test, the reward is bigger than you imagined. Abundance isn't random. It's a response. When you start obeying truth consistently, you start walking in divine rhythm. Opportunities open up that you didn't even ask for. Doors appear where walls used to be. The right people come into your life at the right time. Ideas drop into your spirit that change everything because obedience creates order and order attracts increase. Wherever there is order, there is multiplication. Disorder repels abundance, but obedience organizes your life so that abundance has a place to flow. If your life feels stuck, it's not because God forgot you. It's not because you're cursed. It's because there's a misalignment somewhere between what you say you want and how you're actually living. Maybe you're asking for financial increase, but you're still mismanaging money. Maybe you're asking for a better relationship, but you're still speaking with bitterness. Maybe you're asking for opportunities, but you're not preparing. Asking is easy, aligning is rare, but the people who walk in abundance are the ones who choose obedience even when it costs them something, because they understand that every instruction you obey unlocks a greater dimension of provision. There are levels to obedience. It starts with doing what's obvious, being honest, showing up, being disciplined. But then it goes deeper. It calls you to let go of bitterness, to forgive people who don't deserve it, to speak life when you feel frustrated, to tithe when your account looks tight, to be kind when you feel tired. These are the moments that shape your abundance. Because every act of obedience is like a seed. It goes into the ground and dies, but it never stays dead. It grows into a harvest that's bigger than the seed itself. That's the power of divine multiplication. You sow obedience in one area and you reap blessings in many areas. Most people want God to trust them with more, but they haven't stewarded what they already have. You're praying for more money, but how did you treat the last paycheck? You're asking for more clients, but how are you serving the ones you have? You want more visibility, but are you faithful in private? Obedience isn't about earning worth. It's about demonstrating readiness. When you obey, you prove that you can be trusted, and trust is the currency of promotion. If you want to be trusted with more, you must be obedient with little. Obedience also creates clarity. When you start aligning with truth, confusion leaves you. Stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop getting distracted by the noise. You become laser focused on your assignment. And with clarity comes confidence, not arrogance, but divine confidence. You know you're not moving in your own power, you're moving in alignment. And when you move in alignment, the resources of heaven back you up. Strategies begin to flow, wisdom begins to flow, favor begins to flow, and people wonder how you're doing it, but they don't realize that obedience is doing the heavy lifting. Obedience is also a form of spiritual warfare. When you obey, you break generational cycles. You shut the door on fear. You dismantle patterns of poverty and small thinking. You silence the lies of the enemy. Because obedience isn't weak, it's powerful. It's a declaration that you will no longer be ruled by your flesh, your trauma, or your environment. You will be ruled by truth, and truth is undefeated. Every time you obey truth, you're choosing life over death, abundance over scarcity, purpose over confusion. Some people think obedience is boring, but what's boring is staying broke. What's boring is repeating the same year over and over. What's boring is watching other people live your dream while you sit in silence. Obedience doesn't limit you. It launches you. It may look small at first, but it sets you up for overflow, because you never know which act of obedience will be the one that unlocks your breakthrough. You just know that obedience works, always. So if you're tired of barely getting by, tired of surviving, tired of feeling stuck, stop asking what you should do next and start asking what you should obey next. The truth is already speaking. You just have to listen. And once you listen, you must act. Not tomorrow, not when it feels good. Now, because abundance isn't waiting on more effort. It's waiting on more alignment. It's waiting on obedience. And when you align with truth, both heaven and earth respond. That's when things start moving. That's when favor finds you. That's when doors fly open. Because obedience is the signal that says, I'm ready for more. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you're worthy of. That statement changes everything. Because if wanting was enough, everybody would be wealthy, healthy, and fulfilled. The world is full of people who want more but live with less. Wanting doesn't change your life. Worthiness does. Your external reality is always a mirror of your internal identity. If deep down you believe you're not enough, you will sabotage opportunities that say otherwise. If you believe you're not qualified, you'll never apply. If you believe you're not valuable, you'll settle for crumbs when you were meant for the feast. Because the subconscious doesn't lie. It's not loyal to your dreams, it's loyal to your beliefs. And what you believe about yourself shapes every decision you make. Your self-worth sets the thermostat for your life. You can turn up the desire all you want, but if your internal setting is stuck on low, life will always adjust itself to match your inner blueprint. That's why people win the lottery and lose it all. That's why talented people stay broke. That's why smart people work for less qualified leaders, because their worthiness hasn't caught up with their want. Until you shift what you believe about yourself, nothing you want will last. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. You can affirm abundance all day, but if deep down you think you're not good enough, you'll repel every blessing that contradicts that belief. You'll say you want love, but keep choosing people who don't value you. You'll say you want success, but keep procrastinating when success knocks, because your actions will always betray your true belief. The mind may lie, but behavior doesn't. You'll never consistently do what you don't believe you deserve. So the real work isn't in setting bigger goals. It's in expanding your internal capacity to receive what you say you want. Worthiness isn't about arrogance. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about recognizing your divine value. You were created with purpose, on purpose. You're not here by accident. You're not some leftover or mistake. You were crafted with intention. And that means your worth isn't based on your performance. It's based on your presence. The fact that you're here means you have something to offer that nobody else can. But until you believe that, you'll continue to live below your potential. Many people are waiting for permission to feel worthy. They think once they achieve something, then they'll believe it. Once they earn more, then they'll feel valuable. Once someone loves them, then they'll feel enough. But that's backwards. Worthiness isn't a reward, it's a foundation. You must believe it first, and then the world reflects it back to you. It's not the outer conditions that change your self-worth. It's your self-worth that changes your outer conditions. When you believe you are worthy, you stop tolerating nonsense. You stop accepting disrespect. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop undercharging, overworking, and playing small. You start setting boundaries. You start owning your gifts. You start speaking up. You start showing up with confidence, not because you're better than anyone else, but because you finally understand you have a seat at the table. Not as a favor, but by design. This is why so many people stay stuck. They try to change habits without changing identity. They go to the gym, but deep down they still see themselves as unhealthy. They try to build wealth, but they still believe money is evil. They try to grow a business, but they still think nobody wants to hear what they have to say. The change doesn't stick because the foundation hasn't shifted. You cannot outperform your belief system. You can't hustle your way out of unworthiness. You have to go inward. You have to confront the lies you've believed. You have to ask yourself, who told me I wasn't enough? Who made me think I had to earn love? Who convinced me I had to shrink to survive? The moment you recognize your worth, you become dangerous to everything that tried to diminish you. You stop begging for what's already yours. You stop doubting what you carry. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You step into rooms differently. You make decisions differently. Because you're no longer trying to become enough. You know you already are. And that knowing changes how you speak, how you move, and what you allow. You attract at the level of your belief. If you believe you deserve overflow, you'll find ways to create and receive it. If you believe your voice matters, you'll speak up and people will listen. If you believe your vision is valid, you'll act boldly even when others doubt you. Life will begin to rise to meet you because you've raised your inner standard. What once seemed out of reach now starts showing up, not because it suddenly appeared, but because your belief system finally allowed it in. Worthiness is also tied to how you treat yourself. You cannot say you believe you're worthy while constantly neglecting your health, your peace, your time. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And when you carry yourself like someone who matters, the world begins to respond accordingly. People respect what you respect. If you don't respect yourself, don't expect others to. Self-worth isn't loud, it's consistent. It shows up in discipline. It shows up in excellence. It shows up in how you respond to rejection, failure, and success. You stay grounded. You stay focused. Because you're not performing anymore, you're aligned. The journey to worthiness is not about adding anything new to you. It's about removing the false identities, the labels, the trauma, the comparison. It's about stripping off the lies and standing in the truth of who you already are. You don't become worthy. You remember that you are. And once you remember, you operate differently. You no longer ask, can I have it? You declare, I am ready for it. You no longer seek validation. You walk in confirmation. Because when you believe you're worthy, you no longer chase, you attract. You don't beg, you choose. You don't shrink, you shine. And that's when abundance becomes your new normal. Not because you wanted it, but because you finally believed you were worthy of it. There is no shortage of money. There is no shortage of opportunity. There is only a shortage of belief. Most people walk through life thinking resources are limited, chances are rare, and success is reserved for the elite few. But that's a lie that keeps you in survival mode instead of creation mode. Money is printed every single day. Opportunities are created every second. Success is multiplying in real time. The question isn't whether there's enough out there. The question is whether you believe it's available for you. Because if you believe the world is scarce, you will act in fear. But if you believe the world is abundant, you will act in faith. Scarcity isn't a financial problem. It's a mental one. You could have $10 or 10 million and still operate from fear if your mind is locked in limitation. It's not your net worth that makes you feel secure. It's your belief system. Most people live like they're preparing for the worst instead of expecting the best. They say they want abundance but plan for lack. They speak vision but think in limitation. That kind of double-mindedness cancels results because belief isn't what you say. It's how you think when no one's watching. It's how you react under pressure. It's what you expect when nothing seems to be working. When you shift your belief, your entire experience of life changes. You stop competing with others and start creating your own lane. You stop playing small to avoid failure and start expanding because you know success is your birthright. You stop asking for permission to grow and start walking like the door is already open. Because the truth is, it is open. But you won't walk through a door you don't believe leads to more. That's why belief is the key. Not belief in fantasy, but belief in truth. Belief that you were created for increase. Belief that your gift makes room for you. Belief that every need has already been supplied. You're just catching up to it. People say things like the market is saturated or the industry is too crowded. But that only sounds true to someone who believes there's not enough room. Belief doesn't ignore facts. Belief transcends them. You don't need everyone to support you. You just need the right people to recognize what you carry. And they will when you do. When you believe in what you're building, others start to believe in it too. Because belief is contagious. It creates an atmosphere. You walk in the room differently. You speak differently. You lead differently. And people feel that. You can't fake belief. It either radiates from you or it doesn't. The problem isn't that people dream too big. It's that they believe too little. They water down their vision to fit their fears. They downplay their goals to avoid disappointment. They shrink their plans to avoid judgment. But you were not called to fit in. You were called to take territory. You were called to dominate. And you can't dominate with a weak belief system. You can't change the world while doubting your voice. You can't serve powerfully while fearing rejection. Abundance isn't for the lucky. It's for the aligned, for the ones whose belief is stronger than their excuses. So many people are waiting for proof before they believe. But that's not how it works. Belief comes first. Results follow. You don't wait for the evidence, you create it. You don't wait for the door, you build it. You don't wait for confirmation, you move with conviction. Faith is belief in action. And when you move with faith, you activate resources you didn't even know existed. You meet the right people. You receive divine ideas. You access solutions that seemed invisible before. Why? Because belief clears the fog. It opens your eyes. It sharpens your instincts. It tunes your frequency to abundance. Abundance doesn't respond to need. It responds to belief. You can cry out all you want, but if your heart is full of doubt, you'll stay stuck. That's not punishment. That's principle. Because you're a creator, not a victim. And creators create based on belief. If you believe you're limited, your creativity shuts down. Your problem solving shuts down. Your energy shuts down. But if you believe you're powerful, You tap into new levels of focus, strategy, and execution. You become unstoppable not because the road is easy, but because your belief makes it inevitable. Belief also determines how you interpret life. Two people can face the same obstacle. One sees defeat, the other sees development. One quits, the other grows. The difference isn't the situation, it's the belief. Your belief shapes your perspective, and your perspective determines your persistence. If you believe everything is working for you, you'll keep going. If you believe favor surrounds you, you'll see opportunity in every problem. But if you believe you're cursed, forgotten, or unlucky, you'll miss miracles in plain sight. The beautiful part is belief can be built. You're not stuck with the beliefs you inherited. You can reprogram your thinking. You can study truth. You can declare new affirmations. You can surround yourself with voices that challenge your limitations. Every time you stretch yourself, you build belief. Every time you take a risk, you build belief. Every time you show up when it's hard, you build belief. And that belief becomes a foundation that abundance can rest on. You don't attract abundance through talent alone. You attract it through belief. Stop saying there's not enough. There's more than enough. But more will never come to those who live in less than thinking. Raise your standard, expand your vision, speak like you believe, invest like you believe. Decide that you will no longer let fear borrow your future, because fear is not real. It's just belief in the wrong direction. Start believing on purpose. Start believing for more, because the shortage isn't an opportunity. The shortage is in conviction. And once you believe fully, consistently, and unapologetically, nothing can stop you. Not rejection, not delay, not setbacks. Because belief is the force that multiplies everything it touches. And when you master belief, you master abundance.